the Beeman. It looks like a pretty house in the country, doesn't it? Here's my grandpa, who's known in our town as the Beeman. Here is his jacket with zippered up hood that covers his face just the way that it should when he visits his hives as the Beeman. Here are his gloves made of cotton and leather, protecting his hands in all kinds of weather when he tends to his hives as the Beeman. A lot of bees swarming around him. Here's the beehive where all the bees sleep, tucked into a box called a shallow or deep, and then placed on a bench by the Beeman. That's a hive that was built by a man or a person and not a bee, but the bees live there. Interesting. Here's the smoker that quiets the bees and a hive tool that opens the beehive with ease for a much closer look by the Beeman. When the bees smell the smoke, they don't fly around so busily, they calm down. Here's the queen bee who does her job well and lays tiny eggs in a six-sided cell. She's the heart of the hive, says the Beeman. The queen bee is the only girl. Here's a drone bee with big bulging eyes and a large appetite supporting his size. He mates with the queen, adds the Beeman. So he's the daddy of all the bees. I think you have to have sharp eyes to be able to tell the difference. Here are the workers, 10,000 or more, who gather the nectar to bring back and store in honeycomb cells for the Beeman. You see they're all on flowers in the meadow. They look a little bit like dandelions. Here are the house bees with swift-moving wings that dry up the nectar a worker bee brings, making honey for me and the Beeman. See how the bees' wings are moving, so it dries out the nectar in the hive. Here's the extractor. It's clickety-clack, removing the honey from frames on its rack and filling up jars for the Beeman. So they take the combs out of the box and put it in the extractor. And look at that. It goes right out the bottom in a spigot into a jar. And that's how they get the honey out of the honeycomb. Here's some of the honey returned to the hive. It's food for the bees to help them survive the long winter days near the Beeman. So they take a special jar and they have special trays that they put on the hive. and they turn the jars upside down, and it lets a little bit of honey into the beehive. So the bees can eat all winter long. They need the honey. That's their food. Here are the bees protected from harm inside the hive, huddled cozy and warm. So they'll be here next year, says the bee man. Here's the wagon filled up to the brim with bottles of honey collected by him and brought to the house by the bee man. It's raining out. Good thing they have a wagon. That's a lot of honey jars. Here are the muffins, all warm and delicious, and dripping with honey on Grandma's best dishes. Have you ever put honey on your muffin? It's so good. I'm glad that my grandpa's the bee man. I have a little rhyme. It goes like this. Here's the beehive, but where are the bees? Hidden away where nobody sees. Watch, and you'll see them come out of the hive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bzzz. Do that with your mom and dad and let them tickle you like bees. Here's the beehive, but where are the bees? Hidden away where nobody sees. Watch, and you'll see them come out of the hive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bzzz. Spread some delicious honey on your toast.